We say that God is love. So why is it that so many of us don't know how to love ourselves? 1 John chapter 4, verse 8, it says, he who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Think about that for a second. If God is love and we were made in his image, then love isn't just something God does. Love is who he is. And if that's the truth, love is who we are too. But here's the problem. Most of us don't live like that. We say we believe God loves us, but we don't believe we're lovable. We say we trust God's grace, but we beat ourselves up over every mistake. We say we know his love is unconditional, but we keep trying to earn it. And here's the question that will wreck you if you let it sit long enough. If we say the God of love lives in us, why do we still feel unlovable? Why would God empty himself, wrap himself in human flesh, and be put to death for people who aren't lovable? Why would he go through all of that if we weren't worth it? But here's what most of us do instead. We based our lovability on how others show us love. And that's the problem. The same people we're looking for validation, they're still trying to figure out how to love themselves, which means they only can give you what they have. And if what they have is broken, conditional, and inconsistent, then that becomes the standard you use to measure whether or not you're lovable. You are letting people who are still learning how to love themselves determine your worth. If God is love, and we don't understand what that truly is and how it functions, are we missing out on his fullness? Are we missing out on the abundant life he promised? I think we are. And I think that's why so many of us are exhausted, depleted, and running on fumes. What if everything you've been taught about love has been backwards? What if staying in a relationship where you're constantly walking on eggshells isn't commitment? What if that's fear? What if saying yes when every fiber of your being is screaming no isn't kindness, it's self-abandonment? What if lying awake at 2 a.m., replaying conversations, apologizing for things you didn't even do wrong just to keep someone from being upset with you isn't love, it's survival? Now, I'm not actually talking about you, of course. You've got it all figured out. I'm talking about them. You know the ones who keep ending up in the same situations with the same type of people dealing with the same patterns over and over again. But here's the thing. What if the reason they keep ending up there isn't that they're unlucky or that's just how it is? You see, there's this test that over 90% of people fail, and most people don't even know they've taken it. It's called the Love Thyself test. And the results? Over 90% of people don't even believe they're lovable. Now, before you dismiss that and think, well, that's definitely not me. I love myself. I take bubble baths. I do affirmations. I have therapy. Let me ask you something. How many times have you worked yourself to exhaustion thinking that's what you were supposed to do? How many times have you put everyone else's needs before your own and called it love? How many times have you stayed quiet when you should have spoken up so you didn't cause problems? If you've done any of these things, congratulations, you failed the test too. But don't even worry about it. You're in good company. 90% of us did. And here's where it gets intense. The way you love yourself determines the way you love everyone else. No, this isn't theory. This is a command found in Matthew 22, verse 39, where Jesus says, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. Now, most people read that and think it's just about loving other people. But look at what it actually says. Love your neighbor as yourself. Not more than yourself, not instead of yourself, as yourself. The Greek word for as here, it means in the same way, in the same manner, just as. So Jesus isn't just saying love your neighbor. He's saying love your neighbor in the same manner you love yourself, which means the way you love yourself becomes the standard for how you love everyone else. If you don't love yourself, you can't love your neighbor. You can try, you can perform, you can exhaust yourself, but you can't give what you don't have. And here's where it gets even deeper. The word for love here is agapeo, which means unconditional, selfless, sacrificial love. The kind of love that doesn't depend on feelings, the kind of love that doesn't demand anything in return, the kind of love that covers, protects, and liberates. So when Jesus says, love your neighbor as yourself, he's saying love your neighbor with the same unconditional, selfless, sacrificial love that you give yourself. But here's another problem. Most of us don't give ourselves that kind of love. We give ourselves conditional love, performance-based love. I'll love myself when I lose weight, when I get the promotion, when I finally get it together. And if that's the love you're giving yourself, then that's the love you're giving everyone else. You will love others in the same manner you love yourself. Not you should, not try to, you will. And if that's actually true, then the question isn't just, do I love myself? The question is, what am I teaching others about love based on how I treat myself? Here's the truth most people miss. When you neglect yourself to be there for others, you're not teaching love. You're teaching them neglect. This is what neglecting yourself really teaches others. We neglect ourselves for our children. We skip meals so they can eat. We work ourselves to exhaustion so they can have everything that they need. We sacrifice our health, our peace, our rest, thinking that's what love does. But here's the question. What are we teaching our children to do when they get in our same position? We're teaching them that love means neglecting yourself. And when they grow up and do the same thing, you will wonder why they don't know how to take care of themselves. We never showed them. You will love your neighbor in the same manner you love yourself. How we treat people is a reflection of how we treat ourselves in every regard. If we neglect ourselves, we're teaching others to accept neglect. If we don't set boundaries with ourselves, we won't model healthy boundaries for them. This is why loving yourself isn't selfish. It's foundation. Now, I want to give you 5 ways that many of us are failing the love thyself test. See, you can say you love yourself all day long, but your behaviors, they tell the truth. Number 1, we overfunction to feel valuable. We're the ones who do everything, the planner, the organizer, the problem solver, and we tell ourselves it's from being helpful, capable, and responsible. But here's what's really happening. We've tied our worth to our usefulness. We believe that if we stop doing, people will stop needing us. And if they stop needing us, they'll stop wanting us around. But that's not love. It's an audition, and we're terrified we won't get the call back. Number 2, we tolerate disrespect to avoid conflict. Someone says something that crosses the line. We feel it, we know it's not okay, but we don't say anything. Why? We don't want to make a big deal out of it. We don't want to cause drama. But here's what we're really doing. We're teaching them that our boundaries don't matter. And over time, the disrespect gets worse. The comments get sharper. The behavior gets bolder. We've shown them that our peace, our dignity, our feelings are negotiable. And they believe us. We gave them the receipts. Number 3, we apologize for things that aren't even our fault. I'm sorry for bothering you. I'm sorry for being too much. I'm sorry for having feelings about this. We apologize for just existing, for having needs, for taking up space. But here's what that apology really says. I don't have the right to be here unless I'm convenient for you. And that's not humility. That's self-abandonment. Number 4, we stay in situations that drain us thinking that's what commitment looks like. We're exhausted, we're depleted, we're running on fumes, but we stay. That's what we're supposed to do. Love is sacrifice. We don't give up on people. We're out here running on vibes and a Bible verse, and honestly, the vibes left 3 exits ago. Here's the truth. Commitment doesn't mean we stay no matter what. It means we honor what's healthy and true, even when it's hard. Number 5, we give to others what we refuse to give to ourselves. We tell our friends to rest, but we work ourselves to exhaustion. We tell people to set boundaries, but we let others walk all over us. We tell them they deserve better, but we stay in situations we'd never let them stay in. Like we're out here giving TED Talks on self-care while surviving on coffee and chaos. If we believe rest is good for them, but not for us, if we believe boundaries are healthy for them, but not for us, then we don't actually believe in the principle. We just believe in the exception, and that's not love. That's conditional. So here's what loving yourself actually looks like. Loving yourself is not forgetting to eat to make sure everyone else eats. Loving yourself is fixing the food and eating with them. You see the difference? One says your needs matter more than mine. The other says we both matter, and I am going to model what it looks like to take care of myself while taking care of you. We can't pour from an empty cup, and we can't teach someone how to fill their cup if we never fill our own. Now, if you're watching this and you realize you've been pouring from an empty cup for way too long, you're not alone and you don't have to figure this out by yourself. I'm building a community for people who are done with the cycles, done with the patterns, done with the conditional love disguised as commitment, and a space where we're unlearning what broke us and rethinking what will build us. If that's you, come join us, because you can't become the love you were meant to be if you're still running on fumes. Let's learn how to fill our cups together. So how do you know if you're loving yourself the right way? Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter. 1 Corinthians 13, verses 4 through 8. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Ooh, this is a list. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. That kind of love never fails. Everything in Scripture is placed strategically, even the order. Why do you think love is patient comes first? Because it's the foundation. Without patience, none of the other reflections of love can exist. Without patience, love cannot be kind, because kindness requires the patience to respond with grace instead of reacting. Love cannot avoid being provoked, because it takes patience to pause before you respond in anger. If you can't get past the first one, you can't get to any of the other ones. So here is the question you need to answer first. How patient are you with yourself? How do you talk to yourself when things don't go the way you think they should? When relationships take a turn you never expected? When the choice you made seems to be bad? Are you beating yourself up? Have you gotten to the point where you only see the negative of everything? If this is where you are, you don't have any love to give. You only have a lifeline to throw, because you can't save someone from drowning if you're drowning too. You can't teach someone patience if you've never given yourself patience. You can't show someone love if you've never loved yourself. This is why patience with yourself comes first. From the Greek, this translates to suffer long, which means to be patient, but to also endure, to be long-tempered. It's a compound word. The first word means long. The second word means passion, anger, temper. So it literally means to be long-tempered. So here's the question. Are you long-tempered with yourself, or are you short-tempered? Do you give yourself grace when you make a mistake, or do you explode on yourself? When you're patient with yourself, you stop demanding instant results and you start trusting the process. The ultimate goal is to become love. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 10. But when that which is perfect has come, then that which is in part will be done away with. The word perfect here, it means complete, mature, fully developed. Paul is talking about when love has matured. When we have matured in love, we're now at the place where we can pour out. Why do you think Paul said in verse 12, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I shall know just as I am also known. See, mirrors back then weren't clear. They were polished metals that gave you a distorted reflection. As we're maturing, we have an unclear view of what love is still. But when we've matured, Paul says we see face to face and will be known. When we mature in love, we now look like love. The goal is to become love so that it's what we give. Now, I'm not talking about that PDD type of love where we legally change our names to call ourselves something we don't walk in. We're talking about agape, the kind of love that doesn't demand, the kind of love that doesn't manipulate, the kind of love that covers, protects, and liberates. And here's what mature love does. It covers. So if the goal is to become love, to mature into the kind of love that reflects who God is, then we need to understand what that love actually does. And one of the most powerful things that love does, it covers. 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 8, and above all things, have fervent love for one another, for love will cover a multitude of sins. Watch this. The Greek word for cover here, it means to hide, to veil, to conceal. Love covers, and it covers a multitude of sin. But here's the question most people never ask. If love covers, then who's covering me? See, most of us are waiting for someone to validate us, waiting for someone to tell us we're lovable, waiting for someone to choose us before we choose ourselves. We're literally out here emotionally naked, skinny dipping through life and wonder why we keep catching colds. We have to learn how to cover ourselves first. Now, this is why covering yourself matters. When we cover ourselves with love, forgiving ourselves is just what we do. This is exactly how we learn what it looks like for love to cover a multitude of sins. When we make a mistake, do we beat ourselves up or do we cover ourselves with love and forgive ourselves? When we learn how to cover ourselves with love, we learn how to forgive ourselves. And when we learn how to forgive ourselves, we learn what it looks like for love to cover a multitude of sins. And watch this, our love not only covers us, but that love can also cover them. So here's a question for you. If we don't know how to cover ourselves, how will we know what it feels like to be covered by someone else? We have to learn how to cover ourselves first, because when we learn how to cover ourselves right, we know what it looks like and we know what it feels like to be covered right. And when someone comes along who doesn't know how to cover us, we'll recognize it because we've already learned how to cover ourselves. Now, we have to build the foundation of our self-love on agape. We can't build self-love on feelings because feelings change. Agape doesn't. Agape doesn't depend on how we feel. Agape doesn't depend on what we've done. Agape doesn't depend on who validates us. Agape says, I love you simply for existing, not for what you do, not for what you've achieved, but because you were made in God's image, that makes you valuable. When we build our self-love on agape, we stop measuring ourselves based off of how we look, how much we make, how many people choose us, or how many people validate us. And we start measuring our worth based off the one who made us. If you don't walk away knowing anything else, I want you to walk away knowing this. Loving yourself is not optional. It's not a luxury. It's not something you do when you finally get it together. It's the foundation for everything. And when you learn how to love yourself, things start to shift. You respond differently. You see yourself differently. You accept differently. I know because this happened to me. Learning how to love myself didn't just change how I saw myself. It changed how I showed up. It changed what I was willing to accept. It changed what I was able to give. 1 John chapter 4, verses 7 through 8. Beloved, let us love one another, for God is love, and everyone who loves is born of God and knows God. He who does not love does not know God, for God is love. Love isn't just something God does. Love is who God is. And if God is love and you're made in his image, then love is who you are too. When you love yourself, you're not being selfish. You're aligning with who you were already made to be. And here's the truth about maturity. It doesn't happen when you finally figure things out. It happens when you choose love over and over again. Every time you choose to speak life to yourself instead of death, you're maturing. Every time you choose to cover yourself with love instead of shame, you're maturing. Every time you choose to set a boundary without guilt, you're maturing. Maturing and love are inseparable. You can't mature without learning to love yourself. And you can't truly love others until you learn what it looks like to love you. The way you treat yourself becomes the blueprint for how you treat everyone else. When you mature in love, you stop performing for it and you start becoming it. So remember what God already said about you. You were made in his image. You are loved, and love is not something you earn. It's who you are. Walk in that. Live in that. Become that.